Welcome to Threads of Gold. I'm Dana Susan Cruz. Today, my guest is a two-time childhood cancer survivor, author, advocate, and the founder of the nonprofit organization Leah's Kids. She's here to talk to me today a little bit about her organization and her background, but also to talk about one of my number one favorite children's books, Princess Marigold and the Royal Tea Party, which we have in both English and in Spanish. I'm so excited for you to meet her, and please help me welcome Leah Hunt. Hey, Leah Hunt, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
You know what's really cool is that's probably the last time I will ever introduce you as Leah Hunt again, right?
Oh my goodness, you're so right. Probably, I know we're really getting close to the big day.
Yes.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that.
Yes, getting to get married next month. You've got a lot going on, but I know you're excited about the wedding and marrying Sean. He's a great guy. He's just taken a deep dive into the mission at Leah's Kids, helps you out and volunteers at the mental health retreats, and he loves your family. He just fits right in. Like it's almost like he was designed perfectly by God just to marry you.
I would completely agree with that, Sean, because not only taking on this relationship and dating each other and growing it, but then with dating me, I feel like you got to take on Leah's kids as well. You have to really walk in the trenches of the foundation of the cancer world, of the history, of the potential to happen. And he did gracefully, sweetly, excitedly. I remember on one of our first conversations, he was like, "So tell me about Leah's kids. I know you love it." And that was one of our first conversations. And I was like, "Oh, okay, here we go."
Well,
And
that's good.
a lot of times that steers away boys. I can't tell you how many times I've had gentlemen come up and tell me and be like, "You intimidate me," or "That's too much," or "I can't enter into that." But for him, he walked up to me and he said, "I want to know all about it. I want to know what you do. I want to be there. I want to support. I want to join." And it's definitely one of those meant to be things because to fully understand and know me, you have to fully understand Leah's kids, and he took
Hmm.
that on like a champion.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen him in action, He does whatever he needs to do to make the mission happen. So, congratulations, best wishes, all of that.
Thank you.
But we're here today to talk mostly about your books and about your organization, Leah's Kids. But in order to get to that point, we really need to talk, just kind of go back in time a little bit, if you don't mind, and talk about the reason that any of this even exists. And it all begins with you yourself having retinoblastoma as a child. So do you mind sharing a little bit about that story?
Most definitely. So I really entered into the cancer world as a tiny human. My story began very early on. I was about 2.5, and my mother noticed a drift in my left eye. She noticed when she took pictures of me that my retina looked a little bit different in the photos consistently. And so they took me to the doctor, and I got an eye patch, and I hated wearing this eye patch. And so then they took me to a specialist, and he said, "This is the worst part about being a doctor." And he closed the door, sat down, looked at my parents, and said, "I'm so sorry to tell you this, but your daughter has a huge tumor in her left eye." And they always say when you get those words, your life changes immediately. And it really does. You go from 0 to 100 in an instant. You're working through all that emotional turmoil of everything that's happening. But then on the flip side, it's go time. Like you don't have time to sit and think. And
Hmm.
we called it the doctor in Philadelphia, the specialist who takes care of, retinoblastoma babies. And they said, "Okay, 6 months. That's her next availability." And then my doctor called back and said, "No, Leah needs to be there tomorrow." And that's what we did. The next day, we got on the plane and we started treatment the very next day, round one of chemotherapy. So from a very young age, the cancer world is all I know. As a child, I knew more about cancer terminology than I did about Disney princesses. That was my reality.
Yeah, that's crazy. Um, now, unlike a lot of kids with retinoblastoma, you did not have to have your eye removed.
Correct. So I did not have enucleation. So enucleation is removal of the eye. Back in the early 2000s, because that's when I was diagnosed, the protocol was to take the eye. The eye is damaged, it has the cells, you take it. However, I was one of the first kids to not have my eye enucleated, meaning I cut my real eye and I did chemo and radiation and I did surgeries and I did everything under the sun to keep my eye. And then after my relapse, Um, they put a radioactive isotope on the left eye, and I was in isolation for about 7 days. And once they took that isotope off, two things happened. The cancer cells started to die off, but then my vision also slowly started to go until one day I woke up and I told my mom and dad that I couldn't see anymore.
Do you
So
remember that?
a little bit. I would say I have memories from the hospital. I have memories like I remember getting potty trained in the hospital. I remember being wheeled in the bed, going to surgery. So there's a lot I do remember. Thankfully, the fading of the vision is I think one that I remember when it was completely gone.
Hmm.
And I remember that moment of, oh, okay, this is all I kind of know now is just being blind in one eye.
Yeah.
And so I did never had to get a fake eye, never had to get a prosthetic, which has been a huge blessing, which is not the protocol, but my parents really fought my doctor and they're like, let's keep it until Leah can't keep it anymore. And so I was able even now to still have my eye, to have my real eye. And although it doesn't work and it has a cataract and a different color and it drifts and it does all this thing, I'm just so grateful because it's me.
Yeah. Yeah. And you kind of don't remember what it's like to have vision in two eyes, but I know this from hearing you speak one year at CureFest that you talked about sometimes when you were a kid that you would like kind of close your eyes and practically beg God that he would open
Mhm.
your eye that you would be able to see again, and then you would open your eye and nope, you're still blind, and it didn't happen. But you're one of many people that I've met over the years who chose to take something really, really bad from your life and use it for something good. You found a purpose for your pain, and we're going to talk about that in a few minutes with the children's book that you wrote about Princess Marigold and that message about finding a purpose for your pain, even if you have to deal with childhood cancer, there might be a purpose. And boy, did you find a purpose. Because you founded Leah's Kids as a teenager. I think you were still in high school, right? Do you want to talk about how you came up with this idea and what you do at Leah's Kids?
Right. So Leah's Kids really came about naturally. I don't think I ever woke up one morning and said, "Hey, I want to run a nonprofit for the rest of my life." It really just came about. The God's grace was just like, "Here you go." And so it really started. I was in the middle of like one door closing and another door opening. So I was in the midst of changing high schools. And around that same period, everything was changing in my life. I was a sophomore in high school, and my dad got a phone call for somebody. They asked me to come speak at a benefit dinner for a little girl who was losing her eyesight. It wasn't due to cancer, but another eye disease. And so I was about 15 and I gave this speech. It was my first time. I was very quiet in high school, my first big public speaking outside of a school event. And I went and I gave this testimonial, this message of hope basically for this little girl's family and everyone who was there. We were trying to raise money for her family. And then the news anchor comes up to me afterwards and she's like, "Hey, have you ever thought about getting into modeling? You have a cool story. Like, let's use it. You should look into it." So I signed with two modeling agencies and we started doing like the hair commercials and we started working on acting and modeling and walking and posing and all that fun stuff. And that started to take off a little bit. And I told my dad, I was like, I want to do more. Like I want to be more active. Like I want to use my story more. Like how can I bring Leah into this entire world? And around that time, I got hooked up with a photographer and videographer. And the videographer is one who worked on Deadpool. And he called me and he was like, "Hey, let's make a documentary about you." And I was at track practice. I was getting ready for my state track meet. And at that time, I was like, "Oh no, like I have track, I have school, like I have all these things," and not really knowing the depth of what they were talking about. And so I'm like, okay, so I come home from my track meet. Next weekend, let's do it. So we make this video, and then this video goes on YouTube, and everyone messages him afterwards, like, "Who is Leah? What is Leah doing?" So they call me a few months later, and they're like, "What's Leah doing with her life?" Like, well, like they want another video. Like, what's next? And then with that conversation with my dad, he looked at me and he was like, "Why don't you do your own nonprofit?" Because at that point, I started working with American Cancer Society, ACCO, all these big eye tumor research foundation. I was doing videos at my school. So all these things kept kind of spiraling. And I said, my dad, I was like, I want to do something boots on the ground. I want to be with the kids because at my age, I didn't know any other childhood cancer, like teenagers. Like I was in high school at this point. I didn't know anybody. I grew up in a really small town. I was like, where are the kids? Like I want to help them.
Hmm.
And I want to have that direct relationship. And then flash forward, that videographer, photographer, they came over to my house and I said, I want to do a nonprofit. And we had a brainstorming session and we picked the name, we picked the colors, we came up with what Leah's Kids was going to do. And it really just started as a sincere part in my heart, just wanting to be active, to give back, to use my story in a positive way. And then Leah's Kids started in secret. Right there, we filed the paperwork on my 18th birthday. I didn't tell anybody about it. I would find kids in the newspaper that were having like spaghetti dinners or awareness annual days or whatever it may be. And I just started showing up at their houses with checks or at these events with checks, and I would donate
Wow.
to them. And I would be like, "Hi, I'm Leah. I had cancer as a kid. I have this nonprofit. I just started it. Here's $1,000."
Wow. That's
And
cool.
yeah, and so that's kind of how Leah's Kids get started. And now, flash forward years later, we've done a countless of things. And right now, we primarily focus on mental health retreats for teen girls. We do financial grants for children from 0 to 17 in active treatment or at least 5 years post treatment. We do family days. So we celebrate the family, let them have a party. And then we do a ton of advocacy, a ton of Christmas. We have a huge Christmas thing that we do, and the books, and 1,000 other things that we do. But really, we try to walk with the families and give them a community.
Yeah, and you know what? Because I've been to several of the different Leah's Kids events, and I love how it the little events you host they're not just for the child with cancer. You put a focus on their siblings, on the parents, on the whole family and group of friends because you have an understanding that this is something that affects everybody. You yourself are one of five children in your family,
Ah,
in the middle, right? Like,
yes. Number three, right smack in the middle.
yeah. Yeah, I think it's so cool. Your family is so close. You're mostly girls. You only have one brother.
Yeah.
Oh, that poor guy. He had all these sisters he had to look after. But I
He's
love
the
how
king.
he's good, right? But your whole family is gets involved in Leah's Kids. It's not just all the burden on you. Your parents are involved. Your siblings are involved. Lily herself dresses as Princess Marigold, who we're going to talk about in just a minute. So I love how it's a family affair. Y'all fought cancer together and you keep fighting it together on behalf of other people. So I want to talk a little bit because you've written more than one book. We're going to talk about Princess Marigold, but I want you to start by talking about the journals because those are really, really good journals. And you've got one for kids with cancer, and you've got one for the siblings who've lost a sibling to cancer. So can you chat about those a little bit?
Yes. So it's called the My Battle Plan Journal, and it is a 9-week interactive journal for kids in active treatment. And a lot of times kids need a way to express themselves. You get that diagnosis, mom has the notebook. She's like, I'm gonna write down everything the doctor says. She's gonna catalog it. The child is gonna, have his input or her input. And so this is kind of almost like a sentence stem. It's almost like you open that page and it's like, how do you feel today? Thumbs up, thumbs down. It is catered to a 3-year-old to use it, but it's also catered to a 17-year-old to use it. What's your art of the day? Are you going to make your son black? Or are you going to make your son yellow? And then we can really see where that child is. Did you eat? Who's your battle buddy? Who's in the hospital with you? What do you wish was different? And so it's a way for kids and parents to communicate without words. You
Yeah.
can really tell where a student is at based on what they produce on their work. Are they having a good day? Or are they having a bad day? And so I really took that background that I have in education and I poured it into these journals. But then also flash forward, now I'm in my 20s. If I had a journal like this when I was a little girl and I was able to read it now as a grown adult, that would give me so much more insight into how I was thinking, how I was feeling. How come I have these side effects? How come I don't like chicken? How come I don't have this? Oh, well, maybe it's because, after chemo one time I got chicken nuggets and then that ruined chicken for me. But those are little tiny details that can just be lost in passing. But when you get to the survivorship side of things, you have all the late, long side effects coming out. You need those details because those details are part of the story, but you just don't think they are when you're in survival mode.
Yeah, no, that's I didn't think about it that way, about how useful that would be in your current life. Now, speaking of your life now, I mean, are you at risk for developing retinoblastoma again?
So I was when I was younger, about like 12 years old, that bracket of life, those few years, you're really definitely more high risk for relapse. Retinoblastoma is pretty common for relapse. It's also pretty common for a second cancer. So now that I'm kind of over and out of that hump, we really just watch me for breast cancer and like melanoma and a few other little things that are tied to a lot of RB kids that
Mhm.
they get diagnosed when they're older. So yes and no. Not necessarily retinoblastoma anymore, but more of a post second new cancer.
Right. Yeah, I was chatting with somebody, Mariah, who's another one of our authors, about all of the not only do you go through side effects when you're in treatments, but the late effects, like you just mentioned, you're at risk for developing all these other cancers. There's just other things that pop up over time that all these kids who've gone through cancer treatments have to endure, which is why we think it's so important to keep raising funds to cure these diseases. And that's also why advocacy is so important. So another one of the things you mentioned that you do with Leah's kids is advocacy. I know I've seen you many times in Washington, D.C. You go more than once a year, and you've done the White House briefing, you speak on Capitol Hill, and you raise your voice on behalf of these kids. Do you want to share a little bit about that advocacy?
Yes. So advocacy, I love to do. I love being able to bring a story to life because I think there's a very daunting stigmata around advocacy. People are like, oh, I can't go to the White House or I can't go to Capitol Hill. But really, it's storytelling. It's that human to human interaction to tell a story and to tell a need. And really sitting down with staffers and sitting down with representatives and being like, hey, this is what's happening.
Hmm.
This is my personal experience. This is what's happening to the people in the great state of Texas and Maryland and Ohio, wherever you may be. This is a need that we are trying to meet. Can you help us?
Hmm.
And that's really what advocacy is. It's bringing to life the need. And so I have been so fortunate to go to Capitol Hill, like you said, multiple times over the last few years, but then also speak at the White House and on the Moonshot Initiative and speak about survivorship, speak about Medicaid, speak about insurance, speak about like these are the people that need assistance in Texas. These are the people that need assistance in Georgia and be able to bridge that gap for the world. And I think that is it's such an honor and a blessing, and I'm so fortunate that I get to do that and to spread the love and to spread the hope because everybody needs a voice and the kids are our future. And someone needs to stand up and be like, hey, let's fight for them. And it's not that people don't want to fight for childhood cancer. It's not that people don't want to support childhood cancer, but sometimes a lot of times people just don't know.
Hmm.
They don't know beyond what they see on TV. They don't know the in depths. Just like we probably don't know the in depths of another illness or a diabetes or Alzheimer's. We don't know what those families are going through behind closed. We have a really good insight because we've been the families, but in the cancer world. But if you have someone who hasn't walked it, how are they supposed to know? So going to them and being like, here, here is what your people are going through, and saying, how can I help you so you can help us?
Yeah, that's perfectly worded. And I can only imagine when you're sitting there face to face with a member of Congress and telling them your story, and they're looking at you and listening to you. It would be hard to shut somebody like you out. Like, they've got to pay attention. Here is a true survivor and a champion for kids. And are you going to be back at CureFest? I can't remember if you told me this year, next month.
Yes, we will. It'll be a quick trip, but we'll be there.
Okay, good. I know last year you were very busy because you were over there at the Brainstorm Summit
Mhm.
throughout that whole event. You must have been exhausted. I got to come over there and see you a little bit, but this year are you going to be there on Saturday night?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so
Well,
you've got to come over to the Ballesteri table and
yes.
meet some of the people who come by. So we'll be in Freedom Plaza on Saturday night of Cure Fest. So we're a sponsor, so y'all come, everybody come to see us. I do want to chat with you just a little bit about this book.
Ah! Yay!
Princess Marigold and the Royal Tea Party, which reminder we have in both English and in Spanish, and maybe in the near future we'll be seeing it also in Mandarin and Arabic. There's a chance that that's happening, but let's talk about it in English.
Yes.
Um, Princess Marigold is your, like, you created this character. You want to tell us a little bit about her background with childhood?
Yes. So Princess Marigold really came from a need that I saw. I saw little girls, little boys there ask me, why did I get cancer? I think that's the million-dollar question that everybody in the world is trying to answer right now. Why did so and so get cancer? Why? What did they do? And so when you have a tiny human ask you that question, that answer, you can't just say, I don't know. And so, and although I don't have that answer, and nobody has that answer because nobody is God, we don't know, I'm able to give them the best of my ability a solution to that question that they have. And what do kids love? They love Disney. They love Elsa, Anna, Cinderella, Jasmine, whoever it may be. They love the Disney princesses. They love the characters. And as a tiny human, you almost idolize that. You want to be in Cinderella. You want to wear her dress. You want to go to the castle. You want all the toys that is Cinderella themed because you see Cinderella as good, as beautiful, as an icon, as someone you want to be like because you watch the movie. She's in a beautiful ball gown. And so I took that atmosphere that little kids live in and I said, let's enter it into the childhood cancer world. How
Mhm.
can we take that and relate it to cancer? So I said, I'm going to make the first ever childhood cancer princess, Princess Marigold. So Princess Marigold, she's the first princess that fought cancer. She's a survivor. And her mission is to bring joyful smiles to boys and girls all over. And that could be through showing them their purpose, showing them that they're okay, that showing them that they can live a beautiful life, that they themselves are important. And so that kind of answers the question. Because although I can't tell a little kid, you got cancer because of this, this, and this, because they'll be like, is it because I didn't put my toys away?
Mhm.
Is mom mad at me? Is that why I got cancer? And those are big things for a 5-year-old to be thinking about. And although I can't be like, you got cancer because of this, I can say, you know what? Did you know there's a princess out there who has cancer too? And she's not bad. She's still royal. She's still important. She's still all powerful, all beautiful, all glitz and glam. But she's not bad, and you're not bad either. You guys have a similar story, and neither of you bad. You guys are both just as important as you were before cancer. And you can see when they able to make that connection. Oh, the princess isn't bad. The princess had cancer. I'm not bad anymore. It's okay that I have cancer. I didn't do anything wrong. Then that's when they're able to really start taking on what they're going through in a different way.
It makes me sad to think, but you're right. I've heard this before from other kids and their parents that it's just a tendency for little children to think, I'm being punished. God is giving me cancer because I'm a bad kid. And oh my gosh, we want to get rid of that thought. That, well, how awful for them to feel that way.
Right.
Yeah. And so Princess Marigold, do you want to explain why she's named Princess Marigold?
Yes. So Princess Marigold's name has multiple different readings. The first part of the is gold. Like let's focus on that gold section is because of the childhood cancer ribbon is gold. Now, no, I did not name her after the flower. There is a marigold flower, but it is spelled differently.
Mhm.
So gold is after childhood cancer. It's, the color of royalty, purple and gold. It's the color like you see on crowns, it's that elegant. It's also the cancer ribbon. So there's that part. But Mary, that is a very different part. So Mary, it's normally the flower is Mari.
Mhm.
So for this one, I spelt it Mary. Mary, like as in a little girl's name, Mary. So I put them together, did Mary Gold. And Mary really stems from the Bible for Jesus's mom because Jesus's mom had to take care of him. She grew him. She watched him suffer. She saw him die. She, took care and loved her son. And
Which, by
Mary
the way, he wasn't bad. He didn't suffer for being bad either, did he?
No.
So,
See exactly. And that huge correlation. I love it, Dana. I love it. And so that's kind of where I put Marigold so she can take care of the kids.
Mhm.
so she can be a leader. She can love on them. And so it really just stems from Jesus and his mother's relationship. And I took that and I implemented it into Leah's kids because Leah's kids needs a caregiver.
Mhm.
It itself needs someone to talk to the kids. It needs someone to pray for them, to watch out for them, to protect them. And that came in the form of Princess Marigold, which came from Mary.
Yeah, love it. And your sister Lily, again, she dresses up like Marigold for some of the events.
Mhm.
And so the character Marigold, when the artist was creating her, had a picture of Lily, your sister, and
Mhm.
had her dress, she was dressed as Marigold, so that kind of was the inspiration behind creating her. And this book, Princess Marigold and the Royal Tea Party, is a story about how she and her best friend, Peppermint the pig, help these two little twin girls, Lily and Rose, understand that they have a purpose for their cancer diagnosis, and they get whisked off to a royal ball and given the royal treatment just like kids at Leah's Kids do. And they learn that there's a purpose in their pain. It's a precious story. I'm super excited too to share that through collaboration at Cook Children's Hospital, it's now going to be an audio book there for kids to listen to. So Marigold is going places. I can't wait to see what all happens in her future. But also just to point this one out, um,
Yes.
yeah,
Yay!
there's a coloring book, Coloring in the Castle, and it's not just coloring pages. There's also some activities and things like that, all based on Princess Marigold and her friend Peppermint the pig. And just a side note, I have a wish list at Amazon. So I would like to ask everybody who's listening in on today's podcast to go to our wish list on our website, bellasterry.com, and help me buy some coloring books to take to CureFest and send me more than what's on the list because if I have leftovers, I'm going to take them and donate them to hospitals. So um, what I love about the coloring book is that it is something that it's got lots of activities and things you can do in the hospital. So,
Mhm.
like for kids who are stuck there, here's a way that you can create some fun. It's a
Right.
cute, cute book. Um, then the other thing I want to talk to you about is the collaborative effort between you and me.
Yes.
This book, What is Cancer? The concept of this book is that when a child has cancer in their home, and it doesn't matter if it's their sibling or their parent or their grandparent or just somebody in their life has cancer. Cancer is a very complex topic. I mean,
Yes.
adults have a hard time understanding cancer. We have a hard time comprehending it because it's not a disease, it's hundreds of different diseases, and they're very complex. They're not as simple as you can just take a pill and make it go away. Although I hope and pray in the future that's what it takes. But for right now, it's a lot more complicated than that. So we were looking for a way where we could simplify the
Mhm.
topic. And in this little book, we explain cancer, we explain cells, we explain how the difference between malignant and benign, and we talk about all the different tests like biopsies and PET scans and treatments like radiation therapy and all the different things like that. But sort of towards the end of the book, we talk about research. And then we remind all the kids reading the book that you're never too young to get involved in philanthropy. So we offer a couple of little ideas for them on how they can do good now. They can do a little fundraiser or they can put together gift baskets for kids in the hospital, that they are not too young, they are not too little right now to do good for kids with cancer. But the proceeds from that book, What is Cancer, go to Leah's Kids, your mission at Leah's Kids. And I know that both of us have gotten some really great feedback from the book. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Oh, yes. I think one of the best glory story that actually just happened to me when I was visiting my oncologist last month, and I showed her the book, and we were going through it in the hallway. And she's a very busy lady. Like she sees 80 patients between the hours of 6 a.m. and 2 p.m. Like she is a powerhouse of a lady. Her name's Dr. Shields. And so she was able to take 30 seconds and we were able to have a great conversation. She just means so much to me. And I showed her the book for her to host in her waiting room for the kids. And while we were talking about the What is Cancer book, a mom went up to one of the nurses and was like, "Hey, how do I get that book? My daughter's 12. She was just diagnosed and she has a ton of questions." And so I was actually able to go into that room and bring her the book and bring her all different Leah's Kids stuff and say, hey, like, I want to give this to you. Like, please have it. Take it home. Read it. Call me if you have questions. There's so much information in there. And the mom was like, thank you, because she needed a way to explain something.
Mhm.
While the kid is 12, 5, 18, or 3, you need a way to explain it. And how many adults you walk up to and say, please give me an in-depth, child-friendly response on radiation, on, this treatment plan. Most people aren't going to be able to do it. And then most people aren't going to be able to make a little kid understand it. So, Dana, we did is we took all those flags and gaps that we saw and put it into a way that you can tell. Like, I could easily walk into a classroom, read it,
Mhm.
not scare a kid,
Mhm.
not make it intimidating, but also make it to on their level, meet them where they're at. And I think that's the greatest thing about that book, is that you don't have to explain radiation therapy anymore. We can. And
Mhm.
here's
Yeah, right. Like I've thought to myself before looking, I've read the book so many times just thinking, wow, I wish I had had that when my husband Bill was diagnosed because my kids were 5 and 3, and I didn't have anything to explain to them something as huge as their
Mhm.
dad's cancer. So yeah, it's great for kids with cancer. It's great for just any child who has, and everybody's affected by cancer. You cannot live on planet Earth and not know somebody with cancer. So it's just a great way. And you're right, it does help to explain it without the fear involved. It's not about the emotional stuff. It's about this. This is the science of it. So that they don't get confused if somebody says, oh, I'm doing chemotherapy. They understand what that means. So yeah, great point. Okay, so again, when you buy these books, and you can find out information for buying these books at leahaskids.org. And for anyone who is not watching this on YouTube, but is listening to this on a podcast app, Leah is not spelled like the normal Leah. It is spelled like Princess Leia.
Yep.
So,
It
Leah,
is. So Leia, just a
yeah,
little bit more complicated.
yeah,
Like,
but it goes with that whole princess theme, though,
it
too.
really does. It really does.
Yeah, but so all the books that we can find out at leahaskids.org how to purchase those. But again, all of the proceeds benefit your mission. And now you've got a huge gala coming up next
Yes.
month, in addition to a wedding and
Yep.
going to
Mine,
Washington, D.C.
right? Yeah.
You've got a gala, and it's a fundraiser for Leah's Kids. So for anybody who's in the Dallas area, I
Mhm.
want you to give them information about that. But even if you're not in the Dallas area, you can still donate to this, sponsor the event, or if you want, just get on a plane, come put on a ball gown, all decked out in purple, and go to this gala to host. So tell us about the gala.
Okay, yeah. So it will be happening September 4th in Frisco, Texas, beginning at 6 p.m. for cocktail hour. And it is a royal ball. It's a royal ball to fundraise for Leah's Kids and see our kiddos, and they're going to get crowned on stage. And it's just going to be a fun night to celebrate the growth, to celebrate what we've already accomplished and where we want to go. And Princess Marigold will be there. And it's really just a testament to that story coming to life. In the story, we talk about a royal ball happening. And we're going to throw that royal ball, and it's going to be grand and beautiful, and it's going to be a magical evening to celebrate warriors, to celebrate our history, to dream of the future, but also to bring hope into the kingdom. Hope into the kingdom, and we are the kingdom. And how can we build that kingdom up for more kids fighting?
Excellent. So again, they can find out information about that by visiting your website, leahaskids.org,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Okay. And also, if you get confused and you go to my website, bellasterry.com, go to our resources tab, you can find information about Leah's Kids. We are, in a way, Leah's Kids is one of our partner organizations. We have two organizations at Bellasterry that are the recipients of our proceeds, and that Leah's Kids is one of those. We really believe in the mission. And Bill and I even got to go and volunteer at one of the mental health retreats last year in Broken Bow, Oklahoma. And I
So
got
fun.
I got to see firsthand, I got to witness how impactful it is. You even let me participate with the girls in some of the activities like the yoga. I will never forget the yoga because like you had rented out this gorgeous home, and it had this huge covered patio on in the back. And there was a little light rain that hit while we were doing the yoga. So we're laying there on our yoga mats, and like there's little rain, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is better than going to a spa. This thing is amazing. It's really, really good to see what you're doing with that young age group, these teenage girls, these girls in the early 20s who so often feel isolated, like no one understands what they're going through. But when y'all come together, and I know you've done a lot of like beach resorts and things like that, do you have plans in the future for a male version of this?
You have to wait and see.
Just asking, but yeah, you doing
Yeah, no, we have a lot of expansion plans for it, and it's just yeah, it's yes, yes, we do, and things are in the works. And I'm excited.
okay, yeah, me too, me too. Okay, well, um, I will see you in September,
Yes.
probably more than once, but
Yes.
again, thank you so much for being willing to come on today and share about Leah's Kids and about your books, and you have a great day.
Thank you so much, Dana. You're the best.
Thank you for tuning in today to Threads of Gold, and thank you again to my guest, Leah Hunt from Leah's Kids. Again, her website is leaskids.org, LEIASKIDS.org. Visit her website, find out more about the books there, about the mental health retreats that she hosts, and about the incredible work that she's doing for kids in the cancer community. Or find out how you can attend the gala, get all decked out in your beautiful royal apparel, and go to that gala and have yourself some fun. Thank you for tuning in and have a great day.